finishing up HBS, raised a pre-seed, and you guys were like, hey, we got to do go-to-market. So you were part of my go-to-market program. But the product was barely done because I remember you guys were like, hey, we're not quite, like it's kind of getting there.
What my understanding from cycling through a few ideas initially was that you should look after big markets, right? Go after big markets and then the rest of the things kind of take care of themselves.
Tell us like how far you've come, just so people can peg like literally the before and the after.
Yeah, for sure, TK. So we have since then raised around 40 million in total. And we are almost touching 100 employees between US and India right now, and have around 150 customers now. We started working with you guys, right, and building like the manifesto, which actually is a great thing to do, and everyone should focus on that. Our manifesto was events should be a marketing channel for the company, right? That events are the way you actually build a brand in B2B, right? And we focused initially on like seed and Series A companies because they are the easiest to get conversations from.
Your digital events platform. But from day zero, your CMO diaries and, interviewing the CMOs, the content around that, educating the market, events, which apparently you stopped doing for some reason and started doing it, which is blasphemous to me for you guys. But you were doing that from day zero and you do it now. Can you tell us a little bit around what was the thinking behind that, and what's been the ROI for you to really run that kind of like Broadway show of like, hey, we're going to teach the market with the CMOs and build this community? Because that gets thrown around a lot, build community, but you did it. And so what's that been like?
Yeah, TK, great question. The sort of crux for doing all of this and why we actually got in touch with you in the first place and started doing all of this was when we spoke with event marketers, right?
As part of our 10-part series called SaaS and Scotch, today I'm doing an interview and I'm bringing you this episode with Palash Soni, CEO of Goldcast. Goldcast is a purpose-built platform for B2B marketers to host Netflix-style events and hybrid webinars. And so in this episode, I'm going to be walking you through the key principles that Palash has learned in his journey as a founder and as a CEO. Goldcast and Palash and his co-founder Kishore joined my SaaS go-to-market coaching program back in 2000. That was when I was just starting out the program and they were just starting out their company. Fast forward to today, they have raised over $40 million in venture capital. They have over 100 employees. They have 150 customers. They're one of the top platforms out there. They have done incredible in building their company. So I just had to get Palash on to share the principles that he's learned in his go-to-market journey as a founder and now as a true CEO of a scaling B2B SaaS company. And so in this episode, we'll be walking you through 6 principles that Palash has shared, including a bonus one in the end. It's an incredible episode. I'm so grateful for Palash for being so gracious and coming on and sharing his knowledge from his incredible journey. And when you follow these principles, you'll learn exactly what the stage of founder-led go-to-market looks like, what it looks like once you've graduated from it, and you'll actually be able to apply these principles to accelerate the growth of your SaaS business. Intro. What's up, everybody? Welcome to Unstoppable. I'm TK, and on this channel, I help SaaS founders like you grow your SaaS businesses faster with an unstoppable strategy. Now, if you're new to this channel, welcome. I drop an episode every single Sunday with actionable strategies and tactics from the trenches on how to grow your SaaS business. Every Thursday, I interview a founder and a CEO of a company that has gone through one of my programs so that they can share actual go-to-market strategies and tactics that they've learned in their journey. So in this episode, I'm going to be talking with Palash Soni, CEO and co-founder of Goldcast. And through this episode, you're going to learn exactly what he's learned in his founder journey. It's an incredible episode, and I can't wait to walk you through it. And for each of the principles shared, I'll guide you through the whole process. So if you're new, be sure to hit that subscribe button and that bell icon. That way you'll get notified every single time I drop an episode. If you're already part of our community, if you're part of our SaaS go-to-market coaching programs, my people, welcome back. If you're excited to dig into principle number 1 by Palash, go ahead and smash that like button for the YouTube algorithm. Let's dive right into it. So principle number one by Palash was market first. And this is something I've seen with a lot of second-time founders. They always do market first before they think about go-to-market or product. But with Palash and Kishore, they were very early in embracing go-to-market. In fact, before they even had their product fully ready. So let's go into exactly what he's learned in doing that and why he did that.
What's up, everybody? In today's episode, we have Palash Soni, CEO of Goldcast. Palash, really awesome to have you over here.
Great to meet you as well, TK. Great seeing you after a while.
I know, yeah. So the backstory of us is Goldcast is a digital events platform. And I met Palash through his pre-seed investor. You were finishing up HBS, raised a pre-seed, and you guys were like, hey, we got to do go-to-market. So you were part of my go-to-market program. But the product was barely done because I remember you guys were like, hey, we're not quite, like, it's kind of getting there. So what I wanted to start, like, maybe kick it off with, like, what was going on in 2020 when you guys were starting the company, doing the pre-seed, doing go-to-market, building the product? Why'd you even decide to do Goldcast? Like, let's start there first.
Great question, TK. And I'll try to keep it short because it's a pretty nebulous story. But my co-founders and I, we were at HBS, and the three of us had come in with the specific intent of starting something of our own. So we congregated around that common objective, and we're looking at ideas, right? And one of the things that I sort of learned, which is very obvious, and every entrepreneur should do that, but what my understanding from cycling through a few ideas initially was that you should look after big markets, right? Go after big markets, and then the rest of the things kind of take care of themselves. And we dabbled in a few ideas that were not in big markets. So we said, okay, what are the big markets that we know something about, right? And I had experience in ad tech before. So before coming to HBS, I was in an ad tech company for 4 years. And I did both business and product side. So on the product side, I dabbled with things like, Marketo, Salesforce, marketing automation, right? And so I had a good idea of that space. And then on the business side, I was in, customer success and sales, but I was working very closely with our events team. And I knew how important events are for a B2B companies go to market, right? And the objective of events here are very different from objective of events, like a conference where the event is done to make money. So I said, okay, event marketing looks like a great space, and let's look at that. It's not measurable. It hasn't gone through a change in years. So we could possibly think about like a little thin CRM, right, for events. And this was pre-COVID, and in and of itself, it's not a great idea. So we abandoned it. And when COVID hit, I realized that it might be a great time to actually think about this again, because events will become virtual, which is obvious. Eventually, they'll become omni-channel, which was also obvious. But it opens up a space in B2B marketing where the channel itself will go through some kind of a shift, right? And will become a lot more like a digital channel of marketing where it's more measurable, actionable. So we said, okay, let's take a plunge. And that's how we got started. And just one more thing here. To just validate the idea, we cold emailed 100 event marketers at B2B companies. And we heard back from almost like 30 or 40 of them, which was pretty exciting. And everyone kind of validated the thesis. So that gave us fuel to start.
That's how you guys started. I want to peg the audience on where you are today. So today, Goldcast, just give us employees, dollars raised. We don't talk revenues on this because it doesn't matter. But tell us like how far you've come, just so people can peg like literally the before and the after.
Yeah, for sure, TK. So we have since then raised around 40 million in total, and we are almost touching 100 employees between US and India right now, and have around 150 customers now.
Principle number two is you gotta embrace go-to-market, and you have to embrace founder-led go-to-market. This was something that was eye-opening for me when I was first starting out the program, but fast forward to today with over 250 companies that have gone through my go-to-market programs, the founders that win always embrace go-to-market first and really, really embrace the go-to-market instead of trying to outsource it or trying to just hire someone to do it. And so here's Paul sharing his principles on why they embrace founder-led and how it helped them.
So I remember in the early days, one of the things we were talking about was some like the kind of the messaging and the narrative. And I think like we were talking about it And it became very evident to me early on in the call, like, oh, the product's like not done yet. Like,
Yes.
yeah. So
Yes.
I want you to tell us two things. One, you guys embraced go-to-market very early. Like that's early for a lot of founders. So what prompted that? And how did that help you? And what was that first dollar like? Like how awkward was that to really like sell that first dollar?
Yeah, Nikhil. So I'll answer the first part of the question, right? Why did we embrace go-to-market? So as we were getting into the market, it was getting evident that we'll have to be a very verticalized player the way we intended to be, but that was the crux of the business. And the product, while it wasn't built, and it turned out to be not a very easy product to build because real-time video is very hard, but it was still kind of obvious to us what the product will look like. What was not obvious is how this whole thing with event marketing will evolve, and whether event marketers will look at this as a MarTech platform and as part of their daily routine of events, and how events will evolve, digital events will evolve. Those were the questions that we had. So we knew that we had to go in very quickly to market and learn from customers to actually stand out of the crowd, right? So our goal was always to put out a product or put out something and get into conversations that was to learn, right? To learn what is important and what should come out in the product. Otherwise, we would have risked being one amongst the many competitors that had come at that time. So that's why we embraced it. We thought, okay, we have a unique message, which was unique at that time, which is events should be driving growth for the companies, for B2B companies, and that's how you build, your community, your audience, and we wanted to test that message actually. So that's why we embraced go-to-market first. We have always, we started our CMO Diary series actually before the product was fully done, which talks a lot about marketing from events. And then the first dollar was actually super awkward, to be honest. Our first actual big customer was this company called Drift, which is in the MarTech space. And how we got that was we realized early on that this product has virality, right? Like people see the product, it's very public, which most SaaS products aren't. And so we forced our investors to do events. So Underscore, which is one of our co-leads of the pre-seed round, they did an event in which David Cancel, the CEO of Drift, was a speaker, and he liked the product a lot. And he's like, okay, I'm going to use it. So he took a massive bet on us at that time, and that got the flywheel started.
Principle number 3 by Palash is how the go-to-market strategy, specifically your ideal customer profile, is an iterative process. In this principle, Palash really goes into exactly how they thought about their ICP in the beginning and how it evolved over time, how they used it as a tool to actually ensure retention for the market they were going after, which was very important to him, and he'll explain why. So principle number 3, embracing go-to-market as an iterative process instead of a one-and-done process.
For you, a lot of companies in your space, I'll call this pandemic market fit. Like there was pandemic market fit. What I think is incredible about Goldcast is even post-pandemic, there's still product market fit.
Yes.
Can you talk to us a little bit about that? Like, were there things you did early on thinking about that, or did you get lucky? Like, what's that been like?
It's a mix of both. It's a mix of both. But there was one key or a set of key conversations early on that we were able to strike that helped us build the trajectory. So one of our professors at HBS, he was on the board of another event tech company much before the pandemic that was pretty hot at the time, and then it didn't work out. And we were speaking with him to understand why. And he mentioned that if you don't do event right, then events is such a big category, right? It kind of looks like a horizontal category, but it has a lot of like subsegments, and all of them behave set differently. And if you don't focus, you tend to become episodic, and then retention will be a huge problem. And I was scared of retention problems because from my last business, because in ad tech also that's a problem.
Yeah.
So we said, okay, what can be the right kind of business that will have the right retention characteristics in events, right? And so that's where we had always focused on, positioning ourselves and building the product so that it can be used as a marketing channel. So a lot of what we did early on in the product and the product choices we made helped us. For example, our product has always been very horizontally scalable, up to from like a very small webinar all the way up to 5, 6, 10,000 person event. But it cannot be used for a 100,000 person event, which most competitors have built the product for. And those are two, although it kind of looks like a continuum, but those are two different products. The latter is much more tougher to use. Ours is more easy to use. We spent a lot of time and energy on MarTech capabilities, right? Which you are very familiar with, like integrations and
I remember like attribution was a big point of conversation in the early days.
Exactly. Yeah. Attribution, just getting the data in and out of systems. So some of those bets help play out in that we marketers started using us for a lot of things, right? A lot of different things. So when we get into a company, we not only do their big conference, but also do a host of other things like say group demo. And so, yeah, when we get into a company, it's basically the big conference is definitely something that business we are going after. And then we start getting adoption in, product launches, in demand gen webinars, in customer marketing. And a lot of teams start using us because we help them consolidate their data. We, put a great brand presence, throughout. So yeah, all of these bets worked, and we are still seeing that bet play out. And our demand mix has changed a bit. Like we used to get 80% of our business from big conferences. Now it's 50%, and the rest 50% is coming from like more frequent events, but the growth has remained.
All right, so before I go to principle number 4, 5, and the bonus principle, let me just pause here for a second. Are you starting to see the power in this? Are you starting to see the power in embracing founder-led go-to-market and how it makes you to be so much more successful in building your SaaS business? You've seen the power in this. Can I just get a yes in the comments below? Also give a shout out to Palash for being gracious in doing this interview and sharing his knowledge. And also smash that like button for the YouTube algorithm. It really likes it when you do that. And now that you've done it, let's go to principle number 4. Principle number 4 that Paul shared is how he walked through the founder-led stage to the go-to-market hiring stage. He walks through exactly the sequences he went through from going founder-led to hiring true leaders, who he hired, at what stage, and he also talks about one big mistake he made, which he'll never make again. So let's dig into principle number 4, how he transitioned from founder-led to hiring true go-to-market leaders.
Tell us a little bit about your journey going from founder-led GTM to the way you have it now. I'm sure you have leaders in go-to-market. Probably no shortage of VPs of marketing that want to work at Goldcast because they know you so well. You started with the pre-seed, pre-product, like go-to-market. Now you're the Series A. Like, how many times have you found yourself revamping the messaging and the strategy and the ICP? What was that? What has it been like? Tell us about that.
Yeah, I think that's been a very roller coaster ride. When we started working with you guys, right, and building like the manifesto, which actually is a great thing to do, and everyone should focus on that. Our manifesto was events should be a marketing channel for the company, right? That's events are the way you actually build a brand in B2B, right? And we focused initially on like seed and Series A companies because they are the easiest to get conversations from. And while we got a lot of good feedback from them, we realized that they don't have the capacity in the team, and also the focus that you need to be able to pay, say 4 or 5x of what you pay for Zoom webinar, right? To get all of that from something like a Goldcast. So we struggled a lot actually for the first 3-4 months to get any traction. And then we realized this is probably not the right ICP. So we shifted that to Series C, Series D, and above tech companies, right? And Drift, when it came in, that gave us good confidence that probably that is the right ICP. So then we started going after, that ICP. And initially, like first $1 million was done all by Kishore, my co-founder. And the way he did it was he's like a hustler, right? So he would just cold email people, and he would get into conversations. And we also we relied a lot on like warm intros initially. So intros from investors, right? We would reach out to you for intros, and that got us started at that time. And then once we started to get got our first 10 customers, then some virality also kicked in. So that helped us get to like 1 million. Right? Then what happened is when we, as we were growing, we realized that initially we kind of shied away from the word webinar, right? We were like, oh, we will do it, but we will not call it. Because it's not been a traditionally attractive category to get in, right? So we only talked about events, and we turned away demand gen people. We realized they were coming to our website. They didn't think of us as something that they'll use for repeatable events, even though our customers were using us for it and we were building the product for it. And so we had to do multiple iterations on our website to hit the messaging right, to say, okay, we can help you do all your marketing events, right? So that was kind of painful to do that multiple times. Then we went through two more sort of inflections in our GTM. One was getting a proper sales team in place, right? So we hired a VP of sales, and then we hired our first few AEs. And in that process, and we are still learning, but I think we have a good idea now. We realized that there is also a personality of AE that works in our case, in our business, right? It just doesn't, you just don't need to be good at the regular, things that AEs need to be good at, which is asking questions or solutioning. I think there is a personality that can sell to marketers. It has to be someone, people have to be very jovial. The marketers need to connect with the AE, I think, to be effectively sold to. And it's a very soft thing to look at, right? But we found that out through iteration, that's kind of a non-negotiable in our case. The last thing that we learned is we also got a VP of demand gen in, and we spent a lot of sort of effort on demand gen soon after we hit 1 million, right? So we did the regular, demand gen that you do. But there are two things two learnings that came out of it, and two changes, right? One was that we used to do events a lot, right? When we started, based on what we learned from the program as well, that's how you build, the word of mouth. That's how you get your message out. And we stopped doing that, actually. We were like, okay, we didn't do it enough at that time. And then the VP of demand gen came, and she made a bet that events should be like a 10x scale of where they are, and they need to be a different level of quality that we were doing it at, so that we can set the right example and build that momentum. So that took us a lot of time. That took us 1 year, and surprisingly, we were like, okay, we'll do some of it so that people just check out the platform. But that was our sort of mentality at that time, and that took us time, but that's paying dividends now. The last thing is that we also didn't invest in product marketing. So we were great at demand gen, but over time we realized that as we are getting scale, people know about our message, they love our content, but they don't know about the product as much. So we need to invest in product marketing. So now Kishore is actually only focused on product marketing. He is working, he's the quote unquote CMO, and also kind of like the product marketer. So he's doing all of that stuff now.
So it sounds like you start with founder led,
yes.
And then as it started to mature, you kept iterating, and
yes.
you doubled down on demand gen as a core function, sales
yes.
function. And now you're like, oh, we need to do product marketing. So you've like gone from the founder led piece to these three distinct areas that you're investing in right now.
Absolutely. And if I were given a choice to do it again, I would do product marketing first and then everything else.
I think so many people, so that's so interesting. Can you tell us, in your words, what's the difference between demand gen marketing and product marketing? Because I think everyone kind of thinks they know, but like,
yes,
it's nuanced.
It is nuanced. So Hike, the way I think about it is demand gen is finding the buyer, and product marketing is telling the buyer what we can do, right? And because we were mostly founder led for quite a bit of time initially. We always thought and we were always talking to VCs, and VCs don't care about tactical stuff, right? They want to hear visionary stuff. So we were like, okay, we only care about visionary stuff. We only talk about message and category creation and that kind of stuff. And who cares about what the product can do, right? It's very obvious. You can check it out. But we were so wrong about it, because the customer is buying features ultimately. I know VCs hate to hear that features don't matter. Features do matter, right, to customers, because that's what they're buying. They're buying to solve a pain point. And if they don't know what your product can do, then how they, like that does impact the funnel a lot. And we probably would have been at a slightly higher scale today. So what we spent time on was, ads, doing our own events, running the registration campaigns for our events. So it's about things like email marketing, advertisements, and things like that. What we didn't spend time on was doing great product launches, talking about how our Salesforce integration can help you, do your job more effectively, how you can do customer marketing on the product, or how you can do partner marketing on the product. So we don't do all of these kind of tactical things that tell about the product, which impacted us in many ways. And that requires focus from someone who is a product marketer.
Yeah, interesting. When you think about companies like Apple, they're actually all product marketing. They're very little mentioned because the brand is top of mind. So they go so deep into the features and the A4 chip and this, and that's product marketing. And I think there was a period of time where we were told, don't talk about the product that much. Like, don't go into features, people. But now I think it's so competitive in SaaS, people want to see the features and really want to understand it, along with the higher level message.
Exactly. I think that's something that many companies at our stage underinvest in. And that's kind of, I think, like slightly VC driven.
Finally, principle number 5, and then the bonus one. Principle number 5 that Palash shared is that you got to build a manifesto. Obviously, I talk about building manifestos a lot in this channel. I'm a big believer in it. But you can hear from him on how building a manifesto, but more importantly, leading a movement became so important, such a competitive advantage for them even to today, and why they stopped doing it in the middle for whatever reason, and why you also need to make sure you don't make that same mistake. So let's dig into that.
I want to cover the last principle from you guys. And I'm not surprised by this because you are an event company, your digital events platform. But from day zero, your CMO diaries and, interviewing the CMOs, the content around that, educating the market, events, which apparently you stopped doing for some reason and started doing it, which is blasphemous to me for you guys. But you were doing that from day zero and you do it now. Can you tell us a little bit around what was the thinking behind that, and what's been the ROI for you to really run that kind of like Broadway show of like, hey, we're going to teach the market with the CMOs and build this community? Because that gets thrown around a lot, build community, but you did it. And so what's that been like?
Yeah, TK, great question. The sort of crux for doing all of this and why we actually, got in touch with you in the first place and started doing all of this was, when we spoke with event marketers, right, we realized one theme is common across all event marketers and all companies is they don't get the seat on the table, on the revenue table, like the way they should be. They have a lot of budget, right? But it's considered like a tier 2 marketing activity because of a variety of reasons. And there was this overall consensus in the community that we need to get, we need to get that message out that events are important. That's how you build your community. And that intersects with the whole sort of trend in B2B marketing in general, that it cannot just be lead sniping, right? Which is what most B2B marketers do. It has to be about brand, and some early pioneering companies like Drift and Zuora did that, right? But most companies still did and do vanilla marketing. So these two trends intersected well, where we said, okay, there is a message, and which is an obvious message, that events are a way for you to build thought leadership, build a brand. They should be the driving sort of engine for your company. And so we said, okay, we have a persona who wants this message to be out, right? And their career is going to benefit from it, and we need to sell to them. And this message makes a lot of sense, works well for us. So for us, the message itself has always been as important as the product, right? And that is why we started doing CMO diaries early on. We started Event Marketers Live, and they all talk about similar kind of themes, right? Building your audience, building what we call like a media company, right? For your own company. And the reason why we stopped doing it, and that's a very good question, or why I would say we underinvested in it, is because we didn't see immediate results, right? So we were like, okay, we'll do this. And why don't we have like 500 people coming into our events, right? And we kind of found a style, wanted immediate results, and didn't get it. And we started under investing in it. And so when Kelly, who's heading marketing, she came and she determined that this vector is correct. It will not yield immediate results, but it will yield compounding results over time and will help us build a true community, right? We started investing not only in the volume of events, but in the quality of events. So our quality has gone dramatically up when now if we do an event, right, and we do a lot of them, we typically have like 150, 200 people actually attending live even today post-COVID in those events. And this has happened over time, right? This is almost our 10th quarter of doing events from the start. So yeah, it took a lot of time, but events do compound very well over time, but it takes effort. It takes time for you to get there, to build that community who's going to come and attend your events and help you spread the message.
Yeah, I think like community building, events, media company style marketing,
yes,
like they're all delayed gratification, slowly compounding work though. But when it hits, it really hits. You just got to ride it through.
Yes, exactly. And the other thing also why we invested in this early on, even before the product, was this market was super crowded, right? And everyone was talking about like, look at this great product to do virtual events. And we were like, that is not how we can stand out. We have to talk about the why behind the events. Right. And this gave us a very strong why.
Okay, we're down to the last principle. And one of the coolest things here is Palash and his co-founder Kishore, they're living the dream. They're going from just being founders of a company to building something of scale and being true CEOs, right? So Palash is CEO now. And so I asked him like, hey, how has your life changed? Like, what's the one principle you'd give for founders that are going through the Shawshank crawl and they want to look forward to really transitioning to CEO, and what have you learned in that journey? So his bonus principle, just as powerful as all the other ones, is how he transitioned from founder to CEO and what that looked like.
So I want to ask one last thing as a bonus principle. You've gone from a pre-seed founder to now a Series A founder and beyond. You're scaling company. You've gone from the founder role to the true CEO role. What's one piece of advice you'd give us, the rest of the founders that are going through this journey, that's helped you just on a personal life to manage this transition in your life, going through these roles and this incredible change that's happened in your company, in your life, I'm sure?
Yeah, that's a great question, TK. So one thing I realized over time was that there are actually, the amount of things you have to learn from first principles is not as high as most founders think. There are many things that can be hired for, or you can, maybe copy from other places and, make do with it. So just building that muscle to understand what do you need to learn from first principles from scratch, and where you need to innovate versus where you can, beg, borrow, steal, and maybe hire people or copy. That is much lower, the number of things you need to innovate on, and you need to focus. You need to focus on those a lot more, and remove the urge to actually do that in other places. So, for instance, I did not hire a head of product for a very long time. Right, I was running product myself, and because I thought, product is, we need 100% innovation in product. Everything needs to be innovative. I need to be there. And
I'm the guy. Only I can do this.
Yeah, I was like, only I can do this. And I am, I need to run the product because our company is the product. And that hurt our product velocity. And I then saw like, this is happening in a lot of other places actually, where we should not be doing this. So yeah, that's my biggest learning. That helps reduce stress. That helps move fast when it doesn't look like the recipe to move fast.
This was an action-packed episode. I hope you got value from it, and now you know exactly how Palash and his co-founder Kishore navigated their founder-led go-to-market path and scaled their company, and what they're continuing to do today to iterate on their go-to-market, to lead that movement, to really be the number one platform in their category. If you got value from this video, be sure to smash that like button for the YouTube algorithm. Also, if you're in this stage where you have some revenues and you're looking to embrace founder-led go-to-market, you're looking to scale the growth of your SaaS business with a differentiated go-to-market strategy, I encourage you to check out the same program that Palash and Kishore went through, the SaaS Go-to-Market Coaching Program. Obviously, in the last 2.5 years, we've had over 250 companies go through it, incredible success stories that we share every single Thursday. And we've iterated on the program and evolved on the program, but the principles still remain the same because they're so effective. Number one, we help you build out an ideal customer profile. Number two, we teach you how to build a manifesto so you can really communicate the value you're bringing to the market. And then we help you run a consistent Broadway show so you can bring your manifesto to your ICP and drive demand, drive growth. We've even added components to the program where we teach you how to transition from founder-led to a true CEO, who to hire, in what order, right down to the job description. So it's an incredible program. So many amazing founders have come out of it. So to learn more, just go to tkkader.com/GTM. tkkader.com/GTM. You'll get all the details there. You'll be able to fill out a little form to get on a call with us. If it sounds like we're a fit to work together, the better the fit, the better the results. We'll be off to the races, and you and I can start working together to revamp your go-to-market strategy and kickstart the growth of your SaaS business. Lastly, if you got value from this, please smash that like button for the YouTube algorithm. I also drop an episode every single Sunday with actionable strategies and tactics from the trenches on how to grow your SaaS business. So be sure to hit that subscribe button and that bell icon, that way you'll get notified every single time I drop an episode. And lastly, remember, everyone needs a strategy for their life and their business. When you are with us, yours is going to be unstoppable. I'm TK, and I'll see you in the next episode or inside of my SaaS go-to-market coaching program.